Hello friends, welcome to Commerce channel. Today we discuss about the residential status in taxation. So I think you will know about residential status in detail. I want to give explanation about this. So what is residential status? So you know that as per Income Tax Act of 1961, every individual or as an assessee who earns income has to pay tax a portion of his income as earnings as tax to the government. The incidence of tax of individual, it is based on the residential status. The residential status, you should know what is residential status. Residential status is the status of an assessee or his place of residence of income earning in the previous year, that is financial year. Here we usually we come across two concepts, that is the residential status and the citizenship. The citizenship are two different aspects. The tax liability has nothing to do with the citizenship. That citizenship cannot be changed every year, but you know that the residence of a person may change from year to year. Then the residential status means it is the I told you it is the status of an individual in the previous year to assess the income tax liability on the income earned in the financial year. On the basis of residential status, the assessees are divided into three categories, that is resident and ordinarily resident, not ordinarily resident, and non-resident. Mainly there are two classifications, one is resident and non-resident. In case of resident, again there is two classifications, that is ordinarily resident and not ordinarily resident. In order to determine the residential status of an assessee, I told you had to fulfill the two conditions. One is the basic condition that is given under section 6 subsection 1 and additional condition given under section 6 subsection 6a. First, let us see what is the basic condition. So it is given under section 6 subsection 1. There are two basic conditions. That is, first one is he has to be in India in the previous year for a period of 182 days or more. Means he has to be in India in the previous year for a period of 182 days or more. Or the second basic condition is that he has to be in India for a period of 365 days in 4 years preceding the previous year and 60 days in the previous year. It means he has to be in India for a period of 365 days in 4 years preceding the previous year and 60 days in the previous year. So again, there is an exception given for the second basic conditions, that is very important, that's for the 60 days. What is that exception for the second basic condition? Means that if an individual who is a citizen of India and lives in India in previous year for the purpose of employment or as a member of crew of an Indian ship, he must have stayed in India for a period of 182 days in the previous year instead of 60 days. That you should know. That is the citizen of India and who leaves India for the purpose of employment. And the second exception is that if a citizen of India or a foreign national of Indian origin who is living outside India comes on a visit to India in the previous year, he must have stayed in India for a period of 182 days during the previous year instead of 60 days. So these are the two exceptions given for the second basic condition, that is for the 60 days, especially for the 60 days. And now let us go for the additional condition. So I told it's given under section 6 subsection 6a. What are those two additional conditions? First is that he has to be in India for a period of 10 years for a period of 2 years out of 10 previous years preceding the previous year. Second one is that he has to be in India for a period of 730 days in 7 years preceding the previous year. So these are the two additional conditions. Now we'll go for the determination of residential status based on these conditions. For the individual, I told there are three status. First is the resident and second one is the not ordinarily resident and third one is the non-resident. First is ordinarily resident. When you call an individual as an ordinarily resident, an individual is said to be ordinarily resident if he satisfies any one of the basic condition and both the additional condition given under section 6 subsection 1 and section 6 subsection 6a. Second is the not ordinarily resident. An individual is said to be not ordinarily resident when he satisfies any one of the basic condition. Means if he satisfies any one of the basic condition, then you call that person as a not ordinarily resident. When an individual becomes non-resident, an individual said to be non-resident if he does not satisfy any one of the basic condition. So in the beginning, if he fails to satisfy any one of the basic condition, then automatically you call that person as a not ordinarily resident. So this is the status of individual to know the tax liability of that individual or an assessee in the previous year. So next, you should know about the residential status of a company. There is also a status given for the company to know the tax liability or for the tax payment in the previous year if there is any income earned by the companies. So it is given under section 6 subsection 3. For the residential status of the company, I told first is about the resident. A company is treated as a resident in any previous year if it is an Indian company. If it is an Indian company or if the control and management of the company's affairs, if it is situated in India, then the company is called as a ordinarily resident. Second is the not ordinarily resident. So you say that not ordinarily resident is applicable only for the individual and for the Hindu undivided family. So there is no not ordinarily resident that is applicable for the company. A company cannot become a not ordinarily resident. Third one is the non-resident. A company is neither an Indian company nor if its phase, control and management is situated in India, then you can call that company as a non-resident. So if the company is not an Indian company, when a company is not an Indian company, obviously you can call that company as a non-resident. Or if its control and management, if it is not situated in India, then at that situation also that company becomes a non-resident. Now we will see about the residential status of a firm and association of person. So firm means partnership firm and AOP, association of person, you call it as an AOP in short. So what is the status means? First, that is the resident. Firm and association of persons are resident in India if the control and management of its affairs are partly or wholly situated in India. So if the firms and AOP's residents, if its management and if its control is situated partly or wholly in India, then you call it as a resident. And next, not ordinary resident, I told for firm and AOP, again for the company I told there is no not ordinarily resident. Third is the non-resident. Firm and AOP becomes non-resident only when the control and management of their business is situated wholly outside India. So these are the status of the different assessees who pay income tax or the tax liability in the financial year if there is any income earned by these assessees. So this is one of the basic chapter that you come across in taxation subject. It's also important. It will be asked for your exams, maybe for the 10 marks or maybe short questions it will be asked. So for the time being, we'll wind up with these definitions, and we'll see in the next chapter that I may give some important definitions of some important terms that you come across in taxation, and some short questions what will be asked as an objective in taxation subject, especially on this residential status. Thank you. Bye.